Hey, it's David again. I'm still framed for murder by the police. It's still late. If you haven't watched the last recording, go back and give it a look, because it'll get you up to speed on what the evidence establishes. In short, there's no reason to believe that the prior has been harmed. And the evidence shows that the victim and I were only near the area of the recovery scene for the night in question. This evidence also reveals that the victim's definitive location was under the major death, and the information regarding their relative location is common anywhere between a dozen and several hundred city blocks to their actual location. I don't have much time, so I'll jump right to the second thing. Give me a little bit. Wait, bear with me. Look up at the bottom of section 3 for all levels of the area of one evidence for the section starting. So, if you jump right to that section, that's the way to go. Section 3 citation says that something on the page is like that complaint dictates the time that was the time to start with in the account of the first posted article. New quote, is also death.
That's so hard, you won't take them through it. That means all sworn documents required to be recorded. However, when you look into it, it really shows the evaluations. First, the warrant can't also say I had a prior address there, which is false. Secondly, which actually explains why some doctors like that exist. The second also knew that it was in California for years. It only came back to the year. As the activity involved in JT interview quotes to earth detective rebellion, showing detectives' knowledge by residents. Also has to months never lived near it. So essentially all this evidence shows that I haven't been near that location since 17, and at the time I was 22. What this information does is the detective search, shown that he did not search for things like It just go off when he finished with it.
And this really only led to a opportunity for any items to be at home. So, the detective would solely be searching for the items of the victim, which he could only believe to have gotten there the night in question and to have been there since then. This belief or expectation is incredibly important, as the detective's sworn belief of the items being at the location searched would irrefutably mean that he would have to believe the series of events that would cause the items to be at that premise, as he could not just magically believe them to have appeared, though no items were found, of course. So, this sworn assertion of the items being at the location in question produces one of two options. Either A, he believed that I traveled there on that night after the crime, not contradicting any statements, or B, he believed that I traveled to that location before the crime, contradicting everything, as the only person who would have control over those items at that point would be limited to the victim. Ultimately causing them to travel to a separate location where the items could be, theoretically, of course. After reviewing all the evidence, we can only conclude the second option to be most plausible, as the inclusion of the search premise completely voids everything the detective being the ambient search has transpired, rendering his official assertion to be outside of his actual beliefs. If we look at both options, the detective's sworn belief of the items of the location search could have only realistically been A, from him believing me to hypothetically go to that house, leaving or abandoning the items there indefinitely, or B, from him believing me to mistakenly leaving the items behind, as a byproduct of me hypothetically moving the body after the crime, being unaware that the items existed. To give a little more information to support the belief of abandonment, not storage, in the first option, we have to remember that the detective detective could not believe any of my personal effects or items to be at that location prior to the night, as the current evidence factually completes this belief. That means the idea of storage is not realistic in the current setting, as I would have no personal or set place of my own within the location to store any items, let alone the missing items of the victim. Together, this makes the action of storage completely random, out of the blue and unrealistic belief, as I've never decided to store any items at the location before or after the night in question, making the belief of storage on that night baseless and abnormal. So essentially, the theory of storage or any theory like that is unsubstantiated, as no evidence supports it, and as it's only disproven further when reviewed. These factors are incredibly important because it shows there to be no basis to support any theory like storage, causing it to be an unmaintainable belief, as the facts of the case reject it. I try not to get too legally when going over this, but it's important to note that a legal requirement to believe possession is control, and with no set personal place within that location, I would have no control over anything that would hypothetically happen to the items within that location as believed. Showing the necessary factors for which storage to not be present, in effect, barring its belief. I know that was very wordy, but it's super important, because with that established, the motive is void of both options. In the first option, or official theory, any bed in the item of the location searched completely voids the belief of the crime occurring from the start, as it shows the items to have no value to it. So, the detective's official assertion is that I held the most extreme desire to have the missing items in my possession, and that I held absolutely no desire to have the listed items in my possession, which does not make sense, and therefore cannot be believed by anyone, including the detective, as it's inconsistent. In the second option, I would be completely unaware of the items, as I would have mistakenly left them behind, and I therefore could not have committed the act of theft. Technically, no further argument is required to prove perjury, as the detective's official assertion is contradicted by his separate official assertion, showing inconsistent statements under oath, which is all that is necessary to prove perjury by law. Showing the detective to have falsified the location and motive of the crime solely to arrest him and search the true suspected location of the crime, showing me to be framed by the police were factual. However, while it is not a necessity to prove which official statement was false, the current facts of the case gives the ability to do so. The police stated to the news that they believe the victim to be moved to the location recovered. It has to be remembered that I am in jail right now, so my ability to do things is severely limited. However, I heard all major news outlets in Philadelphia inform the court that the subpoena was retrieved, but I was ignored, so I cannot provide this information. Regardless, it only establishes the belief that the victim to be plausible, but not outside the estimate, so it's not crucial to our argument, and we can still continue, though again, not legally required. However, if we continue to review the evidence further, it disproves any theory of intentional travel to the house after the crime, as the theory stops making sense, nor. If you reanalyze the arrest warrant or advocate for probable cause, in the last report, and compare to the accusation of the criminal complaint, you will see that in the first paragraph, in the warrant's first sentence, the recovery of the victim decided to have occurred at 11:06 a.m. on November 3rd, with the two of us last sighted at 9:24 p.m. on the second, in paragraph 2 of the warrant in the last sentence. The criminal complaint was the accusation of the crime occurring on or about Friday, November 3rd, 2017. This shows that the detective did not move with the contract immediately in the truth statement second, showing that the suspected hours before the scene time of the crime, over 10 hours before his accident, said the case was the official assertion of the detective upon review is that the victim and I were to travel to an area that is unknown or unfrequented by the locals, also means that in the middle of the woods, well into the night, 3 hours later from the time the crimes happened, I knew absolutely nothing of the entire duration of the hours just did. Then, I would have heard this person voluntarily say to go to my grandparents' house, who I had not seen in years, unplanned and unannounced, in the middle of the night, out of the blue, with another just person in the middle of the woods. And my grandparents would have to open the door in the middle of the night, not knowing who it was or why they were there, would have to allow entry to see, and I'm asking why I dare carelessly murder the probable believing it was covered in mud and grass, made the arbitrary decision to come to her house at the crime, as they didn't have knowledge about the sort of immediately necessary to time survey. After this, I would have to abandon the life that just at my grandparents' home, avoid the crime occurring from the start as a real trial, and then promptly leave as it's really needed to be done. Finally, the actions still have to be 106 However, the alternative for the detectives chief, the events of as we would have arrived at the house by
Yeah, I gotta go back in there so they could put the second one on, because that's the second thing. They said I could come in and they could put it on this card. That's why I put this together.
Unlike last year, where every hour that passes you with a low probability of injury, current scenario, there's no place to be access to the task or location. So, substantial gap of time is not contrary. And if there's a crime happening, the resident unaware of the crime, only aware of the charge noise, able to control the staff state upstairs in the first control. Finally, the time to crime becomes irrelevant in this area. The only thing I would highly be waiting for would be a decent time.
This taco, you know, the latest today.
Hours and days are measured not by clocks and calendars, but by rather who will be watching the movie was clear. Making sense of all these other factors. However, this shows the actual location of the town is unknown and uncertain. Call for the convention and immediately housing several block radius in general location. Not enough time to a half-hour gap or unknown by person or person. Showing there to be thousands of hours of this might clear all false removed up to this point. Otherwise, between the mountains and sometime after the 13 hours, off the way. He died somewhere for some reason by some person. With no evidence back then. Showing that there is not enough evidence to legally make an accusation with all the false material removed, as the complaint would be incomplete without a location. This concludes section 3 of this recording. I'll try to make the last one tomorrow, whenever I'm allowed out. The next recording covers the rest of the brief, and evidence showing that I'm not just framed legally, but framed completely and factually by the police. So again, if you agree with my reasoning, like, share, and continue listening to hear more, because the more you like and the more you share, the less likely that I'll be left to rot in jail for the rest of my life and ultimately die in prison. Thanks for your support.
All right.